Hi and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. Today we are going to talk about something that has taken the internet by storm over the past couple of years, and that is sheet pan cooking. What exactly is sheet pan cooking? How do we do it? And why would we bother in the first place? And that's what we're going to talk about when we come back in just a moment. At Rose Red Homestead, we like to focus our energies on easy ways of doing things, how to preserve food, a whole host of different things about being prepared for the future and for today. And so as I was looking through the internet, I began to see dozens of recipes about sheet pan meals, sheet pan cooking. The other day, actually it was close to right after Christmas, Jim and I went into town and went to one of those it was the Bed Bath & Beyond that has all kinds of household goods type of stores. As I walked through the small appliance aisle, I saw a small appliance for almost every imaginable way to cook. And that's not me. I like to use what I have on hand to do the best job with what I have. And I'm not a fancy person, I'm more of a practical person. Although every once in a while I like a few little fancy things. But when I began to research and learn more about sheet pan cooking, I became very, very intrigued because I already have sheet pans. In fact, I have 3 of them and they are very well used. Now, what is a sheet pan? So the basic equipment that you need for sheet pan cooking is a sheet pan. And actually this is a half sheet pan. You'll find these on sale listed as either sheet pan or a half sheet pan. And it's called a half sheet pan because it is half the size of a commercial sheet pan that commercial bakers use. And of course a full sheet pan, just think double this, a pan this size would not fit in my oven. So they have made half sheet pans that are of commercial grade that those of us that just have regular ovens in our kitchen can use. So it's important for sheet pan cooking to use a true sheet pan, not a cookie sheet, not a jelly roll pan, but a sheet pan. Now, most sheet pans are heavier gauge aluminum. They have 1-inch rim all the way around, and they are 13 by 18. And I just happen to have these already in my equipment, and perhaps you do too. But I had no idea how convenient they could be for putting together a quick meal in the evening after a day's work when you come home and you don't feel like getting a lot of dishes dirty. You would just like to get everything in one pan and then serve it in that very pan. And for the most part, that's exactly what you can do with sheet pan cooking. So most sheet pan recipes are for a dinner, an evening meal, and it involves some kind of a protein. So, but let's go over the equipment that you would need before we talk about what you can put on the sheet pan. So in addition to the sheet pan, here are some things that you're going to want. You're going to want a meat thermometer, and we have this one. We actually got it for Jim to do his grilling outside, but this is a digital thermometer. And we can use this to probe the temperature of the protein that we're going to be using. And this is pretty important because we don't want things to be underdone. So some kind of a meat thermometer is always good. Then because sheet pan cooking can be messy, another thing that is recommended is the use of pan liners. I sometimes will use a pan liner, and this is just regular parchment paper. You can get this in your grocery stores in the same place where they sell wax paper and foil. Sometimes I will use a liner, sometimes I won't. And sometimes I prefer parchment, depending on what it is, and sometimes I prefer foil. And that is the other thing that you can use as a liner, is just regular foil. And it's nice because the regular size foil is just about the right size to line one of these sheet pans with. Then you're going to want to have some kind of a turner, a spatula, a flipper, as my children used to call it when they were little, that will also drain juices while you turn. And so this is, I love this tool. I use it for lots and lots of different things. So you can reach under your vegetables and turn them if needed without picking up a lot of the juices as you go. Then sometimes you also want to elevate the food off the bottom of the pan. And they do make these handy dandy little racks. And I just happen to have this one that is a perfect fit for a sheet pan. And so you can elevate your food here if it needs to be kept out of the juices. Or if, for instance, you are doing a breaded chicken and you want the chicken to remain crispy, but you also want the veggies down in the juices, then this is the little rack that I use, because this will hold just enough meat, whatever we might do for just the two of us, and then the rest of the pan can be with the veggies or anything else. So that's pretty much it for the equipment. Now let's talk about how to put together a meal. And so all these sheet pan meals are arranged around a protein. That is your main feature. So you can use either chicken or seafood or pork or beef. Now with beef, the understanding, of course, is we would not want to put a steak here to do a steak that way. Steaks and other cuts of beef are best out on the grill, but small cuts of beef, like for sliced beef or sliced steak, if you're going to be doing fajitas, which will be a future video that we do, that's fine. But one of our first videos to demonstrate the actual putting together of a sheet pan meal is going to be with this very chicken right here. So chicken is also very good. And we can either do whole chickens or parts or whatever works for your family. Then the next thing is that you're going to want to select the vegetables. And you can just use what you have on hand. The thing that you need to think about is these are going to go in the oven in high heat that we'll talk about in just a minute. So leafy vegetables and things that might char easily, like the tops of broccoli. Ask me how I know that. One of our first experiences with sheet pan meal, I put the broccoli in at the beginning and it was just charred on the top. We couldn't eat it. So think about the vegetables and the timing situation. You can time things so that your meal and the protein and the vegetables all come out at the same time, or you can kind of stagger how you put them in. Give something that cooks longer a head start, and then you can add the other stuff. So really good vegetables for the sheet pan cooking are a lot of the root vegetables, the potatoes, onions, carrots, those kind of things, beets. But also, if you do your planning the time right, you can do things like asparagus or even broccoli, cauliflower, those types of veggies as well as peppers, sliced bell peppers, in terms of fajitas, that sort of thing. So we want to think about the veggies, and if you're going to be putting them on and cooking everything at the same time, with the vegetables, it's good to cut them in chunks that are about the same size, so everything gets done at about the same time, or stagger the timing. Then the next thing that you're going to want to think about is how to build flavor. We don't want these sheet pan meals to be bland. Chicken is kind of bland, and so we're going to want to be sure that we add things to our meal that will spice up and lift the flavors of everything that we are cooking. Now, with everything that you put on your sheet pan, you're going to want to use some oil. And you can use many different kinds of oil, but usually it is olive oil that is the predominant one. And you oil up your protein and the veggies, everything. And the reason for that is that it helps things cook evenly, and it causes things to brown evenly, and that's good too. Another thing that I use in terms of oil, which also adds the flavor, is Italian recipe salad dressing. There's enough oil in here that it does get everything all oiled up, plus it adds flavor at the same time. And I'll be demonstrating the use of this in future videos. Also, garlic will lift the flavor, and then I have come to really appreciate Chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. And I do have a recipe using these that I'm going to demonstrate for you too. So you can add herbs and spices and sauces, all different kinds of things that will bring out bold flavors. And then another thing to think about too is that you can season your protein one way and then your veggies another way, or you can just use the same seasoning across the board. So what are the techniques for sheet pan cooking? First of all, you're going to want to preheat your oven to high heat, between 400 and 450, and that is really imperative for these meals. With my oven, which cooks a little hot, I usually cook at about 425, and I love how the texture and the visual appearance of the food comes out when the oven is that hot. Then you will, as I said before, make sure that you lightly coat everything with oil. Then you will want to elevate your breaded items. I'm going to do a crispy oven chicken recipe where I'm going to elevate chicken pieces right here and then put the veggies here. So that's the basics of sheet pan cooking. And we're going to do a series of videos on sheet pan cooking. And we're going to start with evening meals like supper dishes, and then we may move to some dessert type things as well. So this will give you time to check out the market and perhaps purchase one of these sheet pans. I don't recommend, as you know, Jim and I are very careful about, we don't take kickbacks on anything that we show on our videos. We feel like that is a conflict of interest. We want to be free to say anything that we need to say about any product. And so these are really old. They don't even have a brand name on the back. I think I got these at Costco. It was 2 for a single price. I checked Amazon. They now have 2 for like $21, which is really a good price. The popularity of these sheet pan meals is just going to skyrocket. So this is our how-to video. Our next video will be on an actual sheet pan meal that we're going to do with this chicken right here. So we will see you for that video in just a few days. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.